point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These are the people that he decided to release in the streets of D.C. So if anybody does need to clean up D.C., I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now, and now he wants to tell y'all how to do your job.
Well, you are about to watch something. A full 5-minute rant where a Democrat managed to accuse Republicans of everything from lawlessness to somehow causing crime in Washington, D.C., which is impressive considering Democrats have been running that city longer than most people have owned their phones. The speech was dramatic, the accusations were wild, and the facts, let's just say they took a long vacation. Meanwhile, Republicans were sitting there trying to actually talk about law and policy while this turned into a campaign rally with a microphone. If you like watching political meltdowns dressed up as serious arguments, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
So I'm starting with the AG. I want you to tell me whether or not it's lawful or lawless ignoring court orders.
That's lawless.
Impounding congressional funds.
Violates the law.
Invoking emergency powers when there is no emergency.
Unlawful.
Sending troops without an invite.
Violates the law.
Covering for pedophiles. I just threw that one in there. Okay, I'll move to the next one. What about revoking birthright citizenship?
Violates the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
How about violating due process?
Violates the 5th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
How about what we see happening with redistricting that would in some way minimize, if not delete, the voices of people of color as they are going through and illegally going through this process? Is there a constitutional amendment that you can think of that is associated with that?
Probably many, but it is unlawful and unconstitutional and un-American.
Thank you. As well as, can you tell me if it is lawful or lawless to violate free speech?
That's lawless.
Okay, sounds about right, because, you know, we had to have a conversation about Jimmy Kimmel, so I'm going to say free Jimmy Kimmel for sure, and hopefully we will deal with the FCC chairman. But the reason that I wanted to go through that long list, and that was actually not even the half of it, is because since this administration has come in on January 20th, they have engaged in some form of every single thing that I said on that list, even the part about covering for pedophiles. So my question is, why are we sitting here today? Number one, they already passed their bootleg laws, and it's clear that even the bill author is not well informed about what his bill does. Because as has already been stated, at the age of 18, you are an adult. So this idea that somehow 21-year-olds were now somehow juveniles under DC law, is that accurate or inaccurate?
It was inaccurate, misunderstood the way the law works.
Correct. Could not understand how to read the law and decided that they were going to rewrite the law and mess up the law. And to be clear, we were talking about judges being able to have enough discretion to decide whether or not they were going to give someone an opportunity maybe to clean their record, such as the bill author was given that opportunity under Florida law because his second felony was picked up when he was 21, to be clear. So he was older than 18. And under this law, if you were under, 25, so 24 or under, then the judges had discretion, correct?
But only in certain kinds of cases, not the most serious cases. And in fact, that discretion was, as we know, exercised very rarely. And it would have been an opportunity had the Congress wanted to talk with the folks who are involved in applying that law and seeing how it works, to understand that this is not a law that's out of sync with other states, and it's working.
Thank you so much. And the reason that it matters is because now the gentleman from Florida is trying to become a governor, and chances are maybe D.C., once they get statehood, could have had a future governor that had a second chance. But since they don't want other people to have chances that they've been given, they want to just pretend like they are bigger and better and badder than. So I will move on because I am frustrated that we are having this hearing when we know that this administration can't take care of their own business. As we know, they recently illegally bombed yet another Venezuelan boat, and we may be headed for a war. We know that this particular president has decided that he wants to shake down people as it relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not one lawsuit, not two lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against ABC, against the Des Moines Register. He is doing all of this because he wants to quash any speech that is not appreciative or lauding him, which is pretty much anything that's factual. So let's talk a few facts about these January 6th felons that should still be incarcerated because they went through the process, but because they were doing things on his behalf, of course, he wanted to let them go. So they released more than 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on this government, many of whom had previous criminal records, like Mr. Theodore Mendenforth, who was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, or Mr. Peter Schwartz, who had 38 prior convictions, including one where he beat his wife by repeatedly punching and biting her. Trump also pardoned Mr. David Daniel, who was convicted of production and possession of child pornography. Trump also pardoned Mr. Daniel Ball, who, quote, threw an explosive device that detonated upon at least 25 officers during the Capitol riot. He also had a record for, quote, domestic violence by strangulation. I'm not done. Trump also pardoned Mr. Andrew Taki, who sent nudes to an undercover law enforcement officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Casey Hopkins also received a pardon from Trump, and Mr. Hopkins was convicted of forcible rape. According to court records, he, quote, had forcible intercourse with the victim, choked her to the point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These are the people that he decided to release in the streets of D.C. So if anybody does need to clean up D.C., I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now, and now he wants to tell y'all how to do your jobs.
All right, now that you've seen the whole thing, let's talk about what actually happened here. That wasn't a serious legal argument. That was a political tantrum. The Congresswoman basically unloaded a laundry list of accusations. Lawless this, unconstitutional that, war, free Jimmy Kimmel, pedophiles, January 6th, lawsuits against media. Everything except the actual topic of the hearing. It was less a legal analysis and more like someone opened Twitter and read the entire timeline out loud. And here's the irony. While she was accusing Republicans of ignoring the law, the Republican side has been doing the exact opposite, pointing out how the Constitution actually works. The Constitution doesn't run on political outrage. It runs on text, law, and federal structure. Republicans consistently argue that power should be limited, that states have authority in many areas, and that the federal government shouldn't just invent powers whenever it feels like it. That's not lawlessness. That's literally the system the founders designed. What you saw in that speech was the modern Democrat strategy. Throw out so many accusations that the audience forgets to check whether any of them actually hold up. It's political smoke and mirrors. One minute it's birthright citizenship, the next minute it's redistricting, then suddenly Jimmy Kimmel is apparently a First Amendment martyr. The argument jumps around so fast it's like channel surfing during a thunderstorm. Meanwhile, Republicans have been hammering a much simpler point. Laws matter, constitutional limits matter, and courts, not emotional speeches, decide what's lawful. That's why Republicans focus on judicial interpretation, separation of powers, and letting legal processes play out instead of trying to win arguments with outrage alone. And the funniest part of the whole performance? Democrats love calling themselves the party of democracy. But when voters elect leaders they don't like, suddenly the election results become a national emergency. They scream about threats to democracy while ignoring the fact that millions of Americans voted for those policies. So the reality is this. The rant may have been loud, dramatic, and full of headlines, but it wasn't a legal case. It was political theater. Republicans, on the other hand, are standing on constitutional process and legal structure, and that's exactly why these exchanges get so heated. One side is arguing from outrage. The other side is arguing from the law. And in a courtroom or in Congress, the law is supposed to win.